And it's just a huge honor for me today to be sitting with Colin Receveur, who came out with his new book, The Four Horsemen of Dentistry.
The Four Horsemen.
Now, how many children do you have?
3.
I've always said that writing a book is like having a child. I mean, it takes 9 months.
Just about.
It's no small commitment.
My first one took 4 years.
And which one is this?
That is number 7.
Number 7? And how long did this one take?
About 3 months.
3 months, so
it gets better.
Your babies are coming out faster.
Yeah.
Walk us along your journey. What made you to sit down with? You own your own company. You have 3 kids. You're a busy man. What made you sit down and write a book?
Well, I think a lot of it's around my dad's transformation. You know, he ran a GP practice for years, and about 10 years ago, he started transitioning into a niche practice, implant-driven, focused only on large cases, and he brought an associate in and made that transition of not only marketing, but practice focus and direction. And the Four Horsemen of Dentistry are all around his journey, how he made this transition to better patients. The Four Horsemen are, corporate dentistry, increasing number of graduates, these forces that are coming in and converging on the private fee-for-service dentist. And what it takes to overcome them, what it takes to adapt to, the new realities that dentistry is facing right now.
So the Four Horsemen, corporate dentistry, increasing dental graduates. What's the 3?
Increased market competition across the board. So
increased competition.
Yeah, your new grads coming out are opening up new practices. They're going into corporate practices. They're fueling.
Well, let's go through that. So your dad is a dentist. Me and him about the same age?
He's a little older, I think. He's 60. He's 62.
60, I'm 55. Yeah. When your dad and I got out of school, the wave was they were closing down dental schools. They closed down St. Louis, Northwesterns, Emory, Farley Dickinson, Georgetown. We had too many dentists. Then 20 years goes by, and now they've opened up 7 more dental schools.
Yep.
And when your dad and I got out, they were closed down dental schools. There were some DSOs that made it to the New York Stock Exchange, Orthodontic Surgeons of America. There's a dozen on NASDAQ. They all imploded.
Yeah.
And today's DSOs, none of them could even go public because they just buy sales. They go borrow $100 million in debt. They buy $100 million worth of dental offices. Well, so as their sales grow, their debt grows.
And there's so much more availability of private money now. 20 years ago, you had to go public to get funding. Nowadays, you can find there's an abundance of funding out there available.
Yeah. So what advice do you have? So here's a lot of people in Dental Town. Coast to coast, they're just flat. They're like, dude, I'm in the middle of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska. I've been collecting $1 million a year for the last 10 years. I'm just flat. What would you tell that guy?
I'd tell them to look at what's changed in their population, because when practices go flat, not everything is flat. We see practices that plateau, and what we see happening is insurance reimbursements are down, so they make up with it with more patients and more staff. And generally, when you see a plateaued practice, you see the profits decreasing, even though the revenue stays the same. You have, you have inflation, right? But inflation's not the only force that you see with plateaued practices. You also see declining profits from more people, more patients through at a less dollar amount per patient, lower patient value.
Okay, so when your dad and I got out of school, we submitted our fees to Delta, and they just told us what percent. They said, I pay 100% of clean exam and x-rays, 80% of root canals and fillings, and 50% of crowns. 30 years later, they send us the fees, and 95% of all the dentists in America take Delta, so 95% of all the dentists are on a PPO. And my fee for a crown and a root canal 30 years later is 40% less than what it was in 1987.
Very true.
Yet all my costs have gone up. So by the time you are now, the PPOs are sending you the fees, the fact that every time the earth goes around the sun, the staff want to raise. What is the dentist supposed to do?
If you want to play the game with the insurance companies and you want to attract PPO patients that you get nothing in reimbursements back from it, you got to make up for it in volume. So you're on roller skates. You know the drill. You're room to room to room to room to room, and you're literally on roller skates in your office. What Ron has done, what our clients do, is they don't fight the PPO game. That's the game for the corporate insurance to play with the corporate dentist, and they play that game very well. They've got the economies of scale, and they can, make money playing with those low reimbursements. Fee-for-service patients are where the money's at in today's world, whether it's implants, dentures, Invisalign, cosmetics, orthodontics, your niches that are largely elective case-type procedures. If you have the systems and the processes and the expert status, I call it, to attract those kinds of patients, you're going to not be fighting insurance. You can have less staff because you don't have 100 patients a day through your office. You have higher profits because you're not fighting a 40% decrease in your reimbursements over the last 10 years. You charge what the service is worth and your patients pay it. And what we find in many markets, 60% of the market is insurance driven. 30 to 40% of the market is willing to go to a dentist that's going to have that relationship, that's going to, care about them. Because, let's face it, you walk into corporate America, you don't know what dentist you're going to get that day. You don't know who they are or if they were at the top of their class or at the bottom of their class.
So your book, Four Horsemen, is on Amazon.com. What will my homies learn if they go to Amazon.com and buy the Four Horsemen of Dentistry?
They will learn how to battle insurance reimbursements, how to fight corporate without playing their own game, right? You can't fight corporate dentistry by simply having the lowest fee in the market. You're never going to beat corporate at that game. If you're placing your bets, if you're structuring your marketing to attract patients because you're the cheapest, that's going to be a slippery slope to the bottom. So how can we attract a better kind of patient, one that has appreciation of more value delivered, of the type of great dentistry that a lot of our clients provide, a lot of dentists provide? They're not doing cheap crowns out of China. They're really, putting their heart and soul and love into it, and attract a patient that's willing to pay for a dentist that they know, like, and trust.
By the way, I'm jealous. I have a book on Amazon, but you have customers who bought your book also bought Sam Walton Made in America.
There you go.
Kudos
there you go.
To you, buddy.
Oh, Sam Walton.
So then if they go to your website, SmartBoxDentalMarketing.com, what are they going to find at SmartBoxDentalMarketing.com? What is it that you actually do for dental office?
Everything we do is focused on the private practice dentist and how to help them thrive and grow and expand their practices in the reality of the world we're in today. So, like I said before, if your practice is plateaued, it's not that you're just not growing. Inflation and cost and raises and decreasing reimbursements and your patient value is going to decline over time. And then a lot of practices think, I need more patients, I need more patients, I need more patients. Well, 85-90% of the time, you don't need more patients. What you need are better patients or different kinds of patients. Or you need to figure out what's going on in your practice that you're on this slippery slope to the bottom. So we're a full-service agency specifically for dentists based around my dad, Dr. Ron, was our model. He was our test bed for all of our systems. And, we're focused. My mission is to help 10,000 dentists by 2020 to attract better patients into their practice and grow their practices through what I'll say are smarter solutions, not just running the race harder and working nights and weekends and working longer hours.
So on Twitter, you're at smartboxweb.com.
Yep.
I just retweeted your last tweet to my 27,000 homies on Twitter. Thank you so much for following me at howardfarran.com. I really appreciate it. And on YouTube, I'm youtube.com/Howard Farran. No, not Howard Farran. Dentaltown Magazine.
Yes.
So subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Dentaltown Magazine. But my God, I'm a huge fan of your YouTube channel. How many YouTube videos do you have?
I think we're on podcast 1300. We've been doing podcasts for 8 years now.
I've subscribed to it. Every time you throw one out, and I love YouTube, I get it.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of yours. And here's another thing I like about you. I shouldn't say this; it's not true, but so many dentists in the flyover states. I'm from Kansas. Mm-hmm. You're a Hoosier from Indiana.
Close enough.
So many people. They think the reality is Beverly Hills, Key Biscayne, Florida, prestigious practice in downtown Manhattan, and you're keeping it real for the vast majority of my homies. Because if it can work in Indiana, it can freaking work in Oklahoma and Texas and all the other states. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people in Ohio and Indiana say, dude, you don't get it. I'm not in Beverly Hills. I'm not in Key Biscayne.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have movie stars in my practice.
Let me tell you a great story. I think, there's so many doctors that are focused on celebrities, and there's not that many celebrities, right? Your A-list is only this long, and it's not getting longer. So, everybody says, well, you can't attract these big cases. These big cases don't exist in the Midwest. It's all insurance, right? Why? I call bullshit on that, and here's why. We've got so many doctors, Ron included. Ron's grown from $1.8 million to $4 million, and we're in Louisville, Kentucky. We're actually not even in Louisville. We're 20 minutes from Louisville, Kentucky, in a little rural city, New Albany, Indiana.
That's where Woody Oaks is.
Home of Woody Oaks.
Is he still there?
He's still there, yep.
You see him often?
Every now and then.
Tell him I said hello.
Yeah, I see Steve all the time. So, Steve Parker.
Yeah, who runs his magazine?
Yep. So, Steve's a good guy. So, we're right there, rural Indiana, population 25,000, 20,000. I mean, it's not much. Woody practiced up in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana for years. Floyd's Knobs, a little funky town. You don't have to go to LA and Escondido, California, these major cities in Dallas and Manhattan to have a successful practice. I think that's a misnomer.
Well, you know what's very bizarre about the dentist's self-limiting beliefs is that I was in Derby, Kansas a couple weeks ago. And I was having lunch with the dentist there, and he was telling me how, there's no money out here in Derby, Kansas, and he's telling me all this. We're sitting at a restaurant, and we're looking at the window. There's a Circle K. There they call quick QTs, quick trips. And I'm sitting there looking at the quick trip, and I said, buddy, how many cars, trucks are across the street at Quick Trip right now? So he goes over there and he counts, and he goes, 9. And I said, 6 of them are a $60,000 to $90,000 Ford 150 pickup truck.
Yep.
I said, there's no money in Derby, Kansas, but 6 out of 9 of the cars at the freaking gas station cost over $60,000 because a decked out F-150.
The base model is $35,000.
Yeah.
You can't even get a base model for in the 20s anymore.
So here's what I see in dentistry. So if you Google what is the average price of a new car selling in America, it tells you $33,000.
Probably.
If you Google how many new cars will the average American buy in their lifetime, they say 13. So then you walk into a room and you say, raise your hand if last year you sold one treatment plan that was over $20,000. Not one freaking hand goes up.
I'm going to use that in my presentation. That is fantastic.
And then they tell you, well, no one here has any money. Oh, they got money for F-150s.
Yeah.
They got money for trips to Disney World.
Now, did you know that the F-150s, Ford, one of their engineers 2 years ago, came out that they undershot the premium market on F-150s. The King Ranch, super awesome, everything loaded that was like $90,000. Ford said we actually undershot the premium market, and now they're offering a $100,000 F-150.
Yeah,
that just blows. Who wants a $100,000 F-150?
But how many are they selling?
A lot, apparently enough.
So tell me this. So America's a third of a billion people. Average person will buy 13 new cars in their lifetime, and then they'll go to the dentist and he'll just pick the worst tooth. And he'll say, well, Colin, this one's all broke off. So we'll just do a crown on that tooth. Instead of just looking back at your mouth saying, dude, if you're going to buy a new car every 5 years, why don't we just fix up your mouth once and for all, and we'll finance it over 5 years, just like they do Ford. And then you find those types of dentists and they're doing 2 to 4 million a year, and they're in towns of 5,000 people in Texas.
And they're working 3 days a week.
Bruce Beard's one.
Yeah.
That guy was doing $4 million a year, and he was 2 hours away from an airport.
How many days a week is Bruce working?
4.
Yeah, I mean I know dentists that work 5 and 6 and don't do $1 million. And my dad's working 3 days a week. Bruce working 4. Chris Griffin, who spoke here earlier, he's working 3 days a week. You don't have to do the nights and weekends and all that crazy shit to really thrive and to have a successful practice.
So if they contact you, if they go to smartboxdentalmarketing.com, how does this work? How does it get started? What do they do first?
First thing we got to do is figure out what you want, right?
But maybe they go to the site. Do they call you? They email you? What is the best way to start this process?
Go to the site or just give us a call and we'll get started figuring out where you're at right now and what's your idea of your dream practice. So Howard, if we're sitting here 3 years from today, what has to happen to you personally and professionally for us to consider this a success? And I think that's the most important question that I can ask anybody is, looking back in 3 years, what does success, why would we say that was really successful? And when I hear that answer from doctors, now I know what we got to do. They just told us.
What are the top 3 to 5 things that they're asking for? What is the definition of success?
I want to work 2 or 3 days a week. I don't want to accept any insurances anymore. And I want my marketing to be on autopilot. Those are probably by and far the top 3 requests.
Okay, what percent of Americans have dental insurance?
You would probably be the expert on that.
Yeah, 60%.
Okay.
So does that mean you're going to focus on the 40% with no dental insurance?
Yeah.
Or you'll still focus on everyone and you'll just give them a super bill and they can bill it themselves?
So that matches our statistics. I said earlier on the podcast, 60% of the country is fee and insurance and price based. 40% are value based. So of those 60%, I think you would probably find some that have that insurance as a safety net, but they still don't go to somebody in network. And your out-of-network people that have one of Ron's biggest focuses in blue-collar America. Louisville, Kentucky is home to General Electric, Ford Motor Company, and UPS, right? We're not talking white-collar jobs. It's a very blue-collar manufacturing city. And people that come in for those large cases, Ron's average case value is $18,300. They're pulling money out of their 401k. It's all about the trust and the relationship and the expertise.
How come you did not mention the Louisville Slugger?
Louisville Slugger, Derby, horse racing, and bourbon. That's it.
Some dentist came by my house to do a podcast in Louisville and brought me 2 Louisville Sluggers, and my 4 boys stole the 2 bats before the sun went down.
You know, they won't let you get on the plane with them.
Really?
They have a sign in the Louisville airport with a Louisville Slugger, and it has to be in the checked luggage. They won't let you carry it on.
Yeah, that'd be a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, well, even the mini ones. They won't even let you bring, I guess they're like a...
But you said something interesting. When you're subscribed to insurance, they're paying you $55 for a cleaning, and your hygienist makes $40 an hour. Mm-hmm. When you're getting paid $55 to do for a $40 an hour hygienist clean, you know there's no money in there.
No.
When you're getting paid $200 to do an MOD composite, and there's 20 steps to it with a rubber dam and a system, there's no money there.
No money.
But you said the big money was in implants, dentures, and Invisalign. Is that the main 3, or are there
Cosmetics.
others? What do you mean by cosmetics?
Veneers, crowns, more vanity-focused treatments. You know, it could be lumineers. It could be anything that is elective case and is purely motivated just by appearances.
And it's all unnecessary, because what I do to enhance my appearance, I just turn out the lights.
There you go. That's
if
good.
I go to a restaurant and I'm sitting here, I'll just unscrew the light bulb.
Dim the light
bulb. Give the waiter 20
Instant
bucks.
2 or 3 points.
Say kill the lights.
Yeah.
So you're saying implants, dentures, Invisalign, cosmetics.
Those are the big 4.
Okay. How does a dentist switch from cleanings, fillings, exams on a PPO fee schedule to implants, dentures, Invisalign, and cosmetics?
It's exactly what we help our dentists do. We're actually having an event next month. Dr. Ron's putting on his first practice transformation seminar, teaching guys over 2 days exactly how to do it. And it's a step-by-step process. So
you ought to film an hour or 2 of that and make it an online C course on Dental Town.
I would love to. We'd love to have it.
If he's already going to be doing it, film it.
It's already, we've got it accredited for 16 credit hours. We'd love to. We'd love to include it.
Do you know Hogo here?
I've met him, yeah.
You met Hogo? Because so many times, the course on Dental Town, we got 450 courses coming up on 1 million views.
Wow.
But so many people are trying to teach him how to do implants, dentures, Invisalign, but it's like
half the people that are teaching it have never done it.
Have never done it.
Yeah.
And the other half don't have any patience for it. I mean, there's like, how do I do these cases if I don't have the patience for it? So
I think the big thing,
what I love about your dad, tried and true blue, 60 plus years old in Indiana.
I mean, let's be honest.
That's keeping it real.
If you're here with your fee for service now, and you're here with your insurance, this isn't a one-day transition. You do this, right? It's a scaling. But I think the most overlooked number, when I go to a dentist and I say, here's your fee, here's your negotiated rate, you just took a 32% cut against your fee. But if you were collecting your whole fee and you put 10% of your money towards marketing, you'd be 22% ahead.
Here's the $1 million question. You say, will you spend 5% of collection on marketing? No. Okay, well, here's the PPO. Will you sign here? Will you do dentistry for 40% less?
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't get it.
So why do they not spend 5% to do dentistry for $1, but they don't blink at doing dentistry for 60 cents on the dollar?
I think it's the easy button. I really do. I think what the industry as a whole has been accustomed to, and this is what I've heard from a lot of guys, is insurance wasn't this bad for a long time. It used to be decent for dentists. 20 years ago, when you got 40% more reimbursement, that was pretty good. I mean, that wasn't bad, right? Now, 20 years later, we have inflation, and you're getting 40% less dollar for dollar, and you got to take in inflation. I mean, it's like in basketball, somebody fakes left and the guy goes right. I mean, it's just going completely different directions.
Is it too dangerous to, you're never supposed to talk about religion, sex, politics, or violence. Is it too dangerous to touch on what it's meant by Make America Great Again?
If you're willing to take it on, I'll listen.
Okay, because because what dentists don't understand is this whole dental insurance. If you said, when was America great? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm not going to go when the Europeans came here and exterminated almost all the indigenous people.
That's a bad period.
And they did the same in Australia.
Yep.
They were, wherever the British Empire went, they weren't very nice to the indigenous people.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it was when they brought over millions of slaves, where 20% died in transport and their life expectancy is only 3 to 5 years. So when you're saying when America great again, I think what they're realizing is when dental insurance is born. And at the end of World War II, the World War was all played out in Asia and Europe, and they were leveled. So after World War II, the only place that made a car or a refrigerator or a stove was America.
Yeah.
So that was the greatest economic growth, and it was also the only time where you had the super weapon, the nuclear bomb, in 45, and Russia wouldn't get it till the early 50s.
Yep.
So for a 5-year period, the wealth grew so fast that's when dental insurance popped up in 1948, because the Longshoremen's Club, nothing got in or out of America unless it went through the Longshoremen's Union on the ships.
Yep.
So they were the first ones up in the upper West Coast, Seattle, Oregon, California, that wanted dental benefits. And it was $1,000 max, which today would be $5,000 in real and constant dollars.
Yeah.
And the dentist submitted your own fee. And when people say Make America Great Again, I think they're referring to just post-World War II until Stalin detonated a thermonuclear bomb. And now Germany declared their reconstruction over in 1980. And Japan was the same. They had 2 cities that were nuked.
Yeah.
It took till 1980 to get back, but when they got back up on the field, there were a bunch of new players that weren't happening before World War II. India, Korea,
China.
China.
Look what China's done since the 60s.
So those lucrative manufacturing, 50 million of them have moved to lower cost participants around the world. And so a lot of dentists are still hanging on to, well, Delta needs to raise the max to 5,000.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
There's no money there.
You can't go back in time.
People aren't going to pay $300 and $500 a month for dental insurance. If you crunch the numbers, people pay 10, 20, 50 bucks a month for dental insurance. The numbers don't compute. Even if they took no profit, Delta Dental of Kentucky is actually a nonprofit, which we'll leave the nonprofits as another conversation, but the numbers don't crunch. You can't deliver that value.
But where I was going with this is that before World War II and the United States winning it and having the Longshoremen's Club and all that, all dentistry was paid for cash, just like that Ford 150 pickup truck.
Yeah.
And just like there's no dental insurance in Africa, Asia, and South America. It's just these 20 countries where you have these self-limiting beliefs. I mean, this damn phone costs $1,000 and my employer didn't pay for it. Obamacare didn't pay for it.
Obama didn't give you that for free?
I paid for this. And I think what the dentists are having a hard time with their self-limiting beliefs is just like people paid for an F-150 truck, people are paying $25,000 an arch for all-on-4 just because they don't want dentures anymore.
They hate them.
And Americans and the Americans will buy whatever they want, especially if you finance it for them. But it's the dentist who believes in so little in what he or she does that she thinks nobody wants what I have to offer unless your boss or Obama paid for it.
I mean, say you're blue-collar, assembly line, Ford construction worker. You've saved all your life. You've got maybe a pension, maybe you don't, but you got $200 or $300K in your 401k account, right? You can either live out the next 20 years of your life eating pureed food and taking your teeth out at night and putting them in a glass, or you can go withdraw 50 grand and have a double jaw all on 4, and you can enjoy the next 25 or 30 years of your life, because the data says you live longer, right? And enjoy your life and be able to bite into those apples and steaks and chew and fix 90% of your real teeth. And I think that's...
I mean, you go snow skiing maybe once a year. You go water skiing maybe once a summer. You eat 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And people are realizing that I would rather have really nice teeth.
Yep.
And also the other thing dentists have to realize that mental health is worth 10 times more cash than dental health. And when they look in their mouth and they are afraid a denture is slipping or sliding or their teeth look ugly or they cover their mouth and they do, they're buying beauty. You even mentioned cosmetic dentistry, which turns into also Invisalign, which turns in also to implants. Everything you listed was mental health.
It's embarrassment.
Not dental health.
Oh, yeah.
And people will pay bank to just a little more beauty. And when you're talking to someone, if you're born without a brain, you're hydrocephalic, you have no brain, you just have a brain stem, you still look at people in their eyes when you talk. It's a brain stem deal. You still cry, you still pee, you still poop, but you still maintain eye contact. And so this little area of the region, what they will pay for Invisalign, bleaching, bonding, veneers. And another thing I don't think people are talking about enough is that when you look at the, the Wall Street boys on Manhattan, those are some of the most brutal statisticians known to man.
Oh, God. Yep.
And when they actually look at the orthodontic market, they say probably 5% of the adults who say they want their teeth straighter, whiter, brighter, that only like 5% have had any type of Invisalign or braces. They see the upside of that market fivefold.
Yeah, it's huge.
They say you could easily, I mean, if orthodontists are paranoid, 5 times for every one person that's had Invisalign, 5 to 10 other adults walking around America say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to straighten up that." And
of course.
So these markets, there's plenty of growth.
Yeah.
So how do you talk the doctor out of their self-limiting beliefs?
Well, there's 2 things you can do. You know a guy named Dean Jackson?
Dean Jackson.
Big marketing guy, big old guy. Brilliant marketer. Dean says...
Would I look skinny if I sat next to him?
You might, yeah. He's
I want to meet this guy. I want to meet this guy.
He's
I want to get my picture taken next to him.
Brilliant guy. So Dean says there's 2 things that people think about. You got a mousetrap. Some people think they need a better mousetrap. Other people realize that they don't need a better mousetrap. They need better cheese on their mousetrap. So I think the self-limiting beliefs also are compounded by A lot of dentists, and this has been pushed for years, more CE, more training, get the new laser, get the new x-ray machine, get the new pan machine, get the new CBCT, get the new implants, the new CEREX, whatever. They go get trained on Invisalign and implants and all these things. They've got a better mousetrap, but their cheese is old and stinky. They got the same cheese on the mousetrap. Well, you can have $1 million mousetrap. If the mouse doesn't want to get onto the mousetrap, you're never going to catch any mice. And what you got to realize is, yeah, you have to have a mousetrap. You got to get the training. I'm not saying you can't do that, but you've got to upgrade the cheese on your trap. Why do people want to come to Howard Farran and get Invisalign or implants or dentures or cosmetics? That's the cheese. Making yourself look different, making yourself be the expert, building that trust and rapport. How many patients have you worked on that didn't trust you? In your 30 years of dentistry, how many patients did you do dentistry for that flat out didn't trust you and didn't like you? Not many.
I wouldn't think many.
Yeah, it's all dentistry's trust.
You talking about my ex-mother-in-law?
Maybe she doesn't count. She doesn't count. But yeah, I mean, dentistry's a trust-based profession. Yeah. You have to build that trust and build that rapport, and you do that through consultations and being personable and meeting with them and having good chair-side manner when you meet with the patient. That's making the cheese better, right? So you got to get better cheese on your trap. You got to get the trap, but then you got to do these things to build your rapport, your aura in the community, so that people want to come see you.
Okay, if I ask, a lot of people say, half the dentists saying this, and I'm always like, what's the source on that? What's the source on that?
Yeah.
Well, Dental Town, when you start a thread, you can start a poll.
Yep.
We always have a monthly poll. And then a lot of dentists on the first thread, you can start a poll, and it can be yes or no, 5 questions. I've been reading more polls in dentistry. We started Dental Town on St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 1999. I mean, there's several polls a month for 20 years.
Yeah.
But when I asked dentists, if you kicked over a genie, could have one wish, what it'd be? And they say, you know what? I already paid my staff, my rent, mortgage, equipment, bill out, computer, insurance. I paid all my bills. Damn it, if I could just have 10 more new patients a month, I'd be making bank.
Yep.
What would you say to that dentist says, dude, all I need, I paid all my bills, I just need 10 more a month. What would you say to that person?
I'd say, what do you want those to be? Are you looking for 10 more insurance reimbursements? Probably not. You're looking for 10 better patients that are going to add to the top line, right? Because you've already paid all your expenses, like you said. You're just trying to add on. What would 10 more patients a month mean to your practice? If you can attract 10 fee-for-service patients that walk in with $2,500 in hand, you just added $25,000 a month to your bottom line, not to your top line, to your bottom line. And I mean, that's $300,000 a year. That takes your $1 million practice and grows them 30%.
But how do you guys do that?
About setting the doctor up as the go-to dentist in his community. I mean, you probably have a plumber you call, or a personal trainer, or an electrician, or you probably have your own dentist that you call when you need dentistry done. You have that guy that you call. You have somebody, right? If you're set up and positioned yourself with your website and marketing, and you have social proof. I'm a big Robert Cialdini fan. You know Robert Cialdini? Dr. Cialdini?
He was my instructor at ASU.
Really?
Arizona State University. He lives up the street from me. My drinking buddy, Dr. Tom Mattern, he's friends with his wife, Sharon.
Oh, wow.
He's in our hood.
Small world. Yeah. So Cialdini is just amazing with how he has built and structured influence. And he needs
to come on my podcast.
Yes.
Every time I ask him, well, I'm doing another book. But anyway,
it would be the best podcast you ever did.
Ryan, we got to tell him it's time to come on the show.
So it's all about using Cialdini's principles of influence to persuade people, social proof, likability, influencing them to look at you in a different light. And that's what we do, is set up the website and the marketing and videos and patient testimonials and all these things to make you the go-to dentist. It's a system. If you're looking for the shiny silver bullet,
I'm gonna add, this is real. I'm keeping it real.
Yep.
Keeping it real is a lot of dentists that are coming out of school, they're very young, they say, website, that's for your grandpa. I'm just gonna have a Facebook page.
Yep.
What would you say to the young 25-year-old millennial? She just got out of school, says, I don't need no www dot anything. I'm just going to have a Facebook page.
I would say that your target demographic might be interested in Facebook, your millennial demographic. I would say if you want to be found in your area, you're not going to be found in your area when people search with just a Facebook page. I mean, Google sets the rules. Bing sets the rules. And if all you have is a Facebook page, you're not playing by their rules. Play the rules in the game you've been dealt.
So you think that would hurt your SEO?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys hear? A lot of them believe that, and every year, the next graduating class believes it more. And they just start seeing people at WWWs as their grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm not saying it won't ever go that way, but currently, it's just not there.
Okay, I want to ask you a couple more questions. There seems to be a big controversy on is direct mail dead or not. For every dentist who says it's dead, another guy says, man, it works for me.
Yep. Direct mail is not dead. Direct mail is alive and well. It will never be dead. It may diminish, but it's a wave. Just as in the 50s and 60s, they pumped out all those dental graduates and the market flooded, and then it went back down, and now we're pumping out more grads than ever, and the wave's back up. It's the same way with marketing. If everybody's doing direct mail, you're going to have dilution of the results. You take all these people that actually check their mail, and they get 20 pieces a day instead of 3 pieces a day, you're going to have rapid dilution of the results you get from direct mail. So it's like that in any market. If everybody's doing direct mail, you're not going to see results. It's all about finding what works in your market. If your market is dry on direct mail and heavy on web, do direct mail. Figure out where your market is weak and then double down on that.
We hear all kinds of statistics on how many people land on a dental office website and how many of them bounce right off without converting to calling. What do you think the bounce rate is off the average dental office website that doesn't convert to calling or contacting your dental office?
GP practice versus implant practice. Implant, you're probably going to see a little bit higher bounce rate. You're being more selective with the patients you have. Anywhere from 40 to 60% bounce rate.
We'll go to the website and bounce off.
Yep.
Without converting by calling the office.
I'm talking about an actual bounce rate statistic. So if you're talking about bounce rate, 40 to 60% is a good.
Explain bounce rate.
Bounce rate is actually a Google Analytics metric of the people that land on a site and then immediately click back. So that when you say bouncing, that's not an adjective. That is a metric, a defined metric. Now, if you're talking about if you have 1,000 people a month that go to a website, how many of those are going to convert into calls? And then the remainder of that bounced, right? Websites that have 1,000 people a month should be seeing at least 10% of those turn into phone calls. So 100 phone calls a month would be a good benchmark for that amount of traffic. It's also going to be based around what percentage of people on your website are new and unique, right? So if you only have 60 or 70% of the people visiting your site is their first time there, you're going to see lower call volumes, right? If you're at 90 or 95% are new visitors, you're going to see higher call volumes and better results. Make sense?
Yeah. So what makes a do you think all websites are created equal? What do you think? What do you think a website? What are the low-hanging fruit to make a website convert more calls, more people landing on the site to call? When you look at a website, what makes you cringe? What makes you say that's bad? What makes you say if you did bang, 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 you would have more people converting from your website to calling your dental office?
One of the biggest problems I like to talk about is what I call the big wee-wee problem.
The big wee-wee?
The big wee-wee problem. And the big wee-wee problem is you go on a dental website and it's we this and we that and we're so great and we have all this training and we, right? That's awful. Patients don't care about you until they know you care about them. And when you go on a website and the whole front page has a picture of the doctors and all their list of accredited training, listen, that's impressive to other dentists. But to consumers, to patients, they don't have perspective for what it took to get that FAGD or MAGD or accreditations or all the LVIs and Dawson and all these, right? They don't know anything about that. So they don't care about it, right? You only know about what you care about. And you've got to hit on the patient's needs before you start telling them how great you are, right? There's a time and a place for that, but it's not front and center on your website. Front and center, they've landed on your site because they have a problem. They have a pain. They're embarrassed. Something hurts. They got this bulge here and they don't know what's going on. They got an abscess. You got to address their pain first, give them a call to action that's better than just free x-ray and exams, something that really compels them to take action, and then tell them about how great you are. Now you've grabbed their attention. Until you have their attention, they don't care who you are.
What percent of when you look at a dental website, what percent would you give A, B, C, D, F?
I would say 50% are Fs.
Yeah.
Or they have none, right? A lot of dentists don't have websites, even not new grads.
What do you think makes an F website? Hell, they don't even have a picture of themselves.
I've seen dental websites that don't even have phone numbers on them. Yeah. They don't even have a number.
Yeah. I've seen and so many of them don't have an email, but they have a contact box. Yeah. So I'll send them a contact box.
Yep.
80% could not send.
Yep. Yeah, they don't work.
It's like, dude, are you telling me you can't? When was the last time you even visited your own website? Go to your own damn website right now and try to contact yourself. You don't even know it's broken.
So 50% right off the top are Fs. Another 25% probably are Ds or Cs. Bs are probably the next 10%. And then your A's are 5%.
So do you actually, is one of your services to build them a new website?
Sure, if they need it.
You can do that?
Yeah.
And how much does a new website usually cost?
Websites are the smallest thing that a dentist needs to do with their marketing. If you throw a good website up, it needs to be supported by things like automatic follow-up systems. It needs to be supported by video. It needs to be supported by the marketing campaign on the front end, right? The SEO, the pay-per-click, the local search, all the things that get the people there. A website might cost $5,000, but having a website that costs $5,000 is worthless, because if you're not doing any marketing, then having a website's no good for you. If you have a shit website you paid $5,000 for, and you spend $50,000 driving traffic to it, you've just wasted $55,000. You follow me?
Yeah.
So it's having the cohesive system that moves these patients through into phone calls.
You know what I think is very, very funny? Just in my backyard, right? I'm talking about just my drinking buddies in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
So I know these guys intimately, and I know you're massively into implants, and you're like a massive cosmetic dentist, or you're these massive things. But if you pulled up all their own websites, you wouldn't know any of that about that. So it's like my friends that I know, okay, this guy, man, I mean, the guy just eats, lives, breathes, dies, and sleeps implants. But you go to his website, you wouldn't even know that. I mean, it's just a standard cookie cutter, at a convention, drop $5,000, has his website.
How much opportunity are they missing?
Yeah.
When Ron first made the transition from GP to implant 10 years ago, he said, what's going to happen when I take my GP website down? My GP side's going to fall apart, right? And he was really worried. I mean, that was a legitimate concern. And he's seen year over year, his GP side of the practice has continued to grow, even with only his implant-focused celebrity, expert status website, because people always want to come see the guru, right? They still want to come see him for GP. They still want to come see his associates because they're associated with Dr. Ron, even though he doesn't talk about GP anywhere. And that's what's driven him to the levels of success that he's had.
So where would you rather spend your money? Google AdWords or Facebook ads?
I don't think it's an or question. I think or is that self-limiting belief you talked about. If you want to saturate and dominate your market area, don't make it an or question. Test. Me and yours opinion doesn't really count. It was like you said about direct mail. Some docs say it's great, some say it's not. It's all in your market area. Test what works and double down on what works. Test Facebook and AdWords and SEO and local search and direct mail, and then actually have results Not impressions and clicks and hits results, but phone call results and scheduled patient results and dollars generated results, and then double down on what generated. I don't think it's prudent to speculate about what would I rather do. I mean, I'd rather do whichever one makes me the most money. And if it's going to be AdWords, if that's going to be direct mail cards as a dentist, I want to double down or triple down on that.
25% of our audience is still in dental school. You said SEO. What is SEO, and how do you spend money on SEO versus a Google AdWord or a Facebook ad?
So there's when you search on Google, there's 3 areas that you're going to pop up. You got your AdWords at the top, you got your local search, and then you got your organic search, right? 3 separate search engines that pop up. If you do AdWords, you're going to show up in the ad section, local in the local, or organic in the organic section. So it's just 3 different areas that that you can show up in with Google.
And you want to do all 3. You want to do Google AdWord, Facebook, and SEO.
If you want to dominate it, yeah.
And possibly direct mail.
Sure, if it works. Track it, test it, and see.
I think you and I also are big believers in tracking it. And like, I'm surprised, you know, I think of dentists, physicians, and lawyers as 3 flowers on the same plant, because they got, and priest.
Priest.
Well, yeah, when I came out with my 30-day dental MBA, my oldest sister, who's a nun, was sending it to priests, because these priests were sending me all these letters saying, dude, I had the same problem you. I went to the seminary for 8 years of college, and all we did was study the Bible, and then I graduate, and they sent me to Fort Scott, Kansas. I'm in charge of a church, an elementary school. I get there, they're $1 million in debt. The teachers all want to raise. There's all these upset parents. There's staff.
I see the parallels now.
And I'm like, why did we read the Bible for 8 years? I had no training in payroll, overhead accounting. And my sister would say, well, you know, my brother has this 30-day dental MBA. Maybe you could just take out root canals and put in a church and school. And all these priests are writing these letters saying, man, my God. But I look at these lawyers, they'll have the backside of the phone, but do you need to go?
I'm in good shape.
Okay. They'll have the backside of the yellow pages, and it'll be this 1-800 number. It's the same number on their television ads. It's the same number on their billboard.
And nobody knows what it generated.
How would that lawyer know if they were calling from the phone book, the television station, or the billboard?
They don't. They ask.
They're not any smarter than dentists, are they? Or priests?
You know, the old trained method was you ask people when they come in, how did you hear about us? What we find with what's called a last attribution model, which is the last place that somebody saw you before they called, which is the most important, right? They may have seen you 5 places, but which one caused them to take action is the last click attribution model, is over 40% of where the patient said they found you is not where they actually found you. You know, we've had double-digit percentages in practices that patients say they saw them on a billboard and they've never had a billboard in their life. So it's kind of like the eyewitness at the crime is always notoriously bad at remembering things.
Right.
Patients don't remember, and they don't want to say, I don't remember. It's social contract. It's common, courtesy to answer people's questions when asked. So they just answer. Oh yeah, heard you there, heard you there, heard you there. Cool.
You know, that's really mind-blowing, because all throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the most killer evidence is when you got the eyewitness to come on the witness stand and says, I saw Alex on the night, he's the one who did it. And now all the research where they have the hidden cameras. What color was his car? Oh, it was yellow. They're looking at the camera, it's blue.
Blue, yeah, it's awful.
How tall was the guy? He was 6 foot, he was black. Really? He was 5'7" and he was white. Really? I mean, they can't remember. I mean, the research says that the eyewitness is the worst evidence.
So you've got the tracking component, and then you've got the front desk component, and that's the last place that we handle for guys before we start giving them the reports. So you got to track it. You got to know where the patients are coming from, and then you have to actually listen to your staff's phone calls or have somebody listen to them, which is what we do for our clients, and make sure that Susie is actually following the process and appointing patients. because generation of calls on itself doesn't mean anything if you only appoint at 22%. Generation of calls doesn't mean anything if you only answer 60% of your calls during business hours. And we see that happen a lot.
So if they go to smartboxdentalmarketing.com, what is your full menu? What all do you do?
We're soup to nuts. Everything from marketing and advertising, everything on the web, automated text review systems, phone training, monitoring, tracking, recording. Our call quality team does an awesome job of actually delivering to doctors the reports based on how many patients actually scheduled from all the marketing that they're doing. So we're a turnkey agency just for dentists that takes patients from having no idea who you are, building that trust, and then putting butts in your chairs.
And you also build websites, and you also do the online scheduling.
We do it all. Yep.
But what is the online scheduling? Does it hook into the top practice management systems, or?
Yeah, right now we're building out that practice scheduling component. It's going to hook into all the major ones. We should have that released this year.
And if some kid in dental kindergarten was graduating and going to start their own office, is there any practice management system that you think is better for the business of marketing more than the others?
I don't really get into that a whole lot.
Yeah. Okay. But I want to tell you a little history on the online scheduling. I'll never forget when my father and I, who would have turned 80 yesterday on April 11th. So spend extra time with your father, because you never know when you wake up someday and he's gone.
Yeah.
And I remember me and Dad saw our first ATM machine. And we were walking to National Bank of Wichita on West Street and 21st Street, and or Central, and we saw this little gizmo, and we thought, we stood behind him, we watched a little bit, we knew the guy.
Yeah.
So then we went in there, we did our banking, and we came out 10 minutes later, and he's still Mickey Mousing around with this damn thing. And my dad and I laughed at each other and said, that's never going to take off. And now it's 30 years later, and a lot of older dentists think, well, no, these people will want to call my office. They don't realize what percent of Americans would rather do an ATM, would rather bank online, and with their makeup point without dealing with a human.
Make it easy again.
So I still, when I go to Chase, I still park and go in, flirt with the girls, get my sucker. I couldn't imagine wanting to do it on the ATM machine.
Yeah.
But more people, especially millennials, they would rather do the ATM machine and not deal with the
Absolutely.
So this online scheduling, you still got it. I still believe the 50 and older crowd doesn't believe it's around the corner, but is it bleeding edge? Is it leading edge? Is it now? Talk about online scheduling.
It's definitely not bleeding edge. I wouldn't even say it's leading edge now. I would say it's early adopter phase. And within 2 years, it'll be moving into the early majority. Have you read Crossing the Chasm?
Yes.
Okay.
Love that book.
Yep. Cool.
And I love the song on Batman Forever, Crossing the River. I
don't know that. I'll have to watch it.
Whenever I think of Crossing the Chasm, I always think of the song Crossing the River on the Batman Forever song. It's a great song. But and then last but not least, the dentist always has I'd say a quarter of them don't even have a video of them. Half have a video, half have a picture, a still shot, and then some have a video. What's your favorite there? No picture, still picture, YouTube video?
It's all about humanizing yourself. If you want to be a likable, approachable dentist, then picture is, nothing is not even good. Picture is good, video is better, and having multiple videos and multiple ways they can engage you is best. It's all about becoming approachable. That's what people want.
I know, I cringe, I'll be out hanging out with a dentist friend, and he's just the most likable, adorable, great guy in the world.
Yeah.
But then you go to his website, he doesn't even have a photo of himself.
Yeah.
Or another one, I go to the website, and he's studying like this.
And it's 30 years old.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, man, if you just had a 1 minute video doing your natural thing, you'd be cool. Gone.
You'd be great.
Well, hey, I thank you for, you've helped so many of my friends, you've helped so many people on Dental Town. You're a legend on Dental Town. Tell your dad he raised you well. And thank you for all that you do for dentistry. Thank you for all that you do for Dental Town. I'm truly your biggest fan.
Awesome. Thank you. Love your podcast, and glad we can be here talking a little more about what we do.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Take care.